Welcome to the Metta Life Podcast. I'm your host, Laura. Come with me on a journey to a healthy life. Today, Olga and I talk about Vipassana meditation. Olga is originally from Ukraine and has been living in Switzerland for the past 14 years. She's a professional photographer and a very serious Vipassana meditator. Welcome to the podcast, Olga.
Thank you, Laura.
Could you please tell our listeners what is Vipassana meditation?
The word Vipassana itself means seeing things as they really are. So in this we can already see what makes it different from other meditation techniques. For example, you do not try to change the reality during Vipassana meditation. Like you do not repeat any mantra, you do not send love and kindness, you do not rise Kundalini, you do not run after pleasant sensations, you don't try to feel yourself better. You are mostly observing things as they are. You are drawing attention inwards, staying with your sensations and observing them without judgment.
How does it differ from the other meditations? So you said for Vipassana you observe the reality, and for most other meditations you observe something fixed. Is that correct?
I have a feeling some other techniques, they are concentrated on changes in reality, on making it better. For example, concentrate on your heart and you can try to feel love and kindness towards everybody and you feel good in this moment. Or you rise Kundalini and it makes you more energetic, but you are changing, you are playing with reality, trying to make it better, to make you feel better, to escape maybe from some pains that you really feel in the real life. Whereas in Vipassana, you are diving really deep inside and you are staying with your sensations, you are discovering more who you are and you're learning to be in the present moment without changing it, without judging it, and that's what makes it unique and interesting.
Okay, could you please tell us, Olga, when did you first start meditating and how did you end up meditating at the Vipassana Center?
I think I first discovered Vipassana when I really became ready to discover it, Even though I was from the beginning a person who is curious by nature and want to try everything in life, but when you're in your 20s, like to try everything in life means to try different alcohol and you're fine with that, And then you want to try career, and till some moment I was fine with everything life has to offer. Until I was close to my 30s and I started to feel there is some depth in life that I'm missing. Like I feel there is something more into existence. And I was subconsciously searching for it. Like I would travel, but it would seem all the same on some level, Been there, done that, and I felt this unsatisfaction. And then I particularly remember one moment. We were on a very beautiful lake. It was so silent there, so pristine, and I wanted to stay in the present moment. I tried, and like a minute later, I find myself thinking relevant thoughts like laundry.
1 minute is already long for concentration.
Maybe I'm generous, maybe it was a few seconds later, already thinking about laundry and like groceries. And I'm like, hey, Olga, come back. I tried again. And I think in this moment, I realized, oh my goodness, I have zero control over my thoughts. And they are so loud, And this moment was conscious moment when I felt, okay, I would love to learn to meditate.
And how did you end up doing Vipassana meditation? There are a million different kinds of meditations.
Yeah, actually, me and my husband, we decided to go for a 6-month trip to India to discover yoga and meditation. And we wanted to try all the possible techniques. But I don't know, due to a chance, the first one I've tried was Vipassana.
No way!
First one, yes.
And you were
ever.
not scared by the setup of Vipassana, which we will explain in 1 minute?
I was so excited because I love challenges. So I was like, oh my goodness, I've never meditated and all of a sudden I will do a 10-day silence course. That's a challenge. I want a challenge. So
I love it.
I don't know if it came from a healthy place, but I'm happy. The first technique I tried was Vipassana and I loved it. For me, it was like, this is it. I don't need to search further. I really felt this is what I was looking for. And of course, afterwards, I tried a few others, like I said, Anahata, like a little bit visualizations, but I've never experienced such a feeling of deep satisfaction as I felt during the 10-day course, so I knew this is my path.
Okay, for the listeners who have never heard of Vipassana meditation, could you please tell us how does it work?
what is Vipassana meditation?
Yes, I mean, can you learn it anywhere? Where do you have to go to learn it? And how do you learn it?
So, the Vipassana meditation you learn during the 10-day course. If somebody is interested more, you can go in dhamma.org and there you can find all the information about the courses, where it is. But generally, yes, it is a 10-day course. I don't know, I don't think I have to talk about the technique itself. I wanted to be surprised, I wanted to be taught by a teacher. But
no, who cares about the technique?
Yes.
But I also practice Vipassana meditation. And to me, it was very surprising to learn that at the beginning, you have to commit to be for 10 days in silent and only meditate for 10 days. It's the only thing you do for 10 days while you learn the technique.
Yes.
And I find it very surprising and now I love it. But most people always tell me when they hear that I do Vipassana meditation, how can you stay for 10 days without talking?
So funny because I thought it will be my biggest challenge, 10 days without talking, it's gonna be so hard. And then I remember, day 10 and teacher says, okay, now after this meditation you can talk again. And you're like, I don't want to talk. It was so great. It was so wonderful. And I think this is funny how your perception changes and things that were so normal for you, suddenly you realize the beauty of silence. And after you start to talk again, after a few hours, you sit again to meditate and you feel, oh my goodness, my meditation is shallow. I cannot get concentration. And this was the first time I really looked at silence differently. Not like punishment, but like a beautiful thing where you meet yourself, when you go inside yourself, you discover yourself on a whole new level. And for this, I'm very grateful actually that my first meditation lasted 10 days. Because when you do just one day, maybe I haven't understood something. 3, 4, you really can go deep and learn it, and then continue.
Yeah. So everyone tells me, how can you do 10 days of silence? Because I'm a very talkative person. I love communication. I love people. And for 10 days, you are by yourself, meditating. And if you have questions, obviously you can ask the teachers. And if you need something, you can ask the organizers. But otherwise, you don't talk to fellow students. Yes. And to me, it was the first time in my life I practiced silence. And I fell in love with it. I realized it was the first time I was able to hear my thoughts clearly. Discover who am I deep down, not at the surface, really deep down. So the silence to me is actually the easiest part of the meditation. I don't know if you agree with me.
I definitely agree, and surprisingly many people also agree with us who practice Vipassana. You think it's going to be the biggest challenge, and actually it's the easiest part. And what you don't think will be the challenge, you discover, oh, this is the challenge.
For you, what was the biggest challenge?
So, as I say, for every person, challenges are different. For example, there are challenges of 10-day course and challenges of everyday life Vipassana meditation. So during the 10-day course, first course, physical pain was my challenge. I didn't know how to work with it. So I was like, oh my goodness, my knees are hurting, everything hurting. But this one disappears fast for me. First, how I handled it, I was kind of kind with myself. I worked with the pain until I could dissolve it, and if it would become unbearable, I would change position. I never pushed myself with it till it started really to be unbearable, and I'm grateful for this.
And also, I have to mention it, Vipassana is not torture. We are being taught that if a position is too painful, because we do sit for long hours, and if a position is too uncomfortable, get up, move, walk a little bit, come back. So you're not supposed to torture yourself.
You're not supposed, but sometimes we are our own torturer. We want to go deeper, we want to be stronger, we want to challenge ourselves, and we can go to really point when it becomes unbearable. But for this, I'm grateful to myself. I was fine. My main challenges were mental challenges, which is, of course, I was not surprised, I was not expecting, and when I look into myself inside, I will find so much hatred, so much anger, so much jealousy, so much all these things. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm such a sweet girl. I've never had problems in my life. I thought I have no traumas in my life. And there you see it, like, oh my goodness, I remember some things I thought I forgot, somebody told me something 10 years ago, and literally, like Goyenka gives example, like somebody abused you 10 years ago, and you were like, at that point, I didn't know what to say, but now if I met him, I would know. And you're boiling for hours in those emotions that I don't need. And to realize it, to face it, That was such a big, beautiful realization. And then, it's a challenging work to work with it, because you're like meeting something that, for example, you have hidden inside because it was painful. You didn't want to meet it. And then suddenly it comes back and you're like, okay, hello. And you're observe how it vibrates in you, and like it dissolves. And I mean, it's a beautiful work. It's a challenging but beautiful work. My personal challenge was also boredom, I think. It comes not first, but after a couple of courses, you learned how to work with pain, you learned how to handle bliss, you learned how to handle pain, and then nothing is going on. And you're seated and your mind is like, okay, everything is good. Can we dream about something? What do you think about this scenario? And he just sends me some things that are so exciting for me, like, this movie Outlander?
Yes.
So my mind is like, and imagine you are the Outlander. You are in ancient England. And I'm like, oh yes, that's so interesting. Let's dream about it, And 1 hour later, I'm like, okay, Olga, come back to meditation. But moment itself, nothing happening. So this getting used that a reality is not always excitement. You can observe your boredom. You can observe, why am I running away from boredom? It's so interesting also, but also, challenging. So a lot of challenges, but they're all very exciting. And I think because of them, we are learning and we are growing. And I'm grateful to all of them, because it's exactly the tool for me to, to grow.
Yeah. And so you do 10-day courses. What happens when you get home?
So after the first course, when I got home, I was lost because I didn't know how to continue, how to integrate it with my life. After the second course, a few days afterwards, I still kept it with me. And now, for example, I've been practicing Vipassana since 11 years. I've done 7 courses, I've done volunteering, and I think it helped me to make the practice proud more inside of me. And I try to make it just a part of my daily life,
So you meditate every day?
I try to meditate every day on the carpet, but if I really feel like strong aversion, at least what I really do, I try to
be aware?
Yes. Like when I take a shower, I'm aware of my sensations. When I'm drinking tea, I'm aware of the present moment. When I become angry, I observe this anger. So I really try, and I love that I don't meditate only on the carpet, but it's everyday life is filled with Vipassana in a way.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, because after my first course, I was extremely strict with my meditation at home, and I developed some aversion. I was like, oh my God, this is costing me so much time, so much energy. And I started to realize I was getting unhappy with practicing. And to me, and I guess to everyone who is teaching Vipassana is here to make your life more beautiful, easier to handle, and more peaceful. And if you develop anger because you have to sit every day and you have to practice, I don't think it's fulfilling the purpose. And so a teacher told me, just be aware. If you are unable to practice, to sit down for an hour every day, just be aware during your day. What is happening? Where is your mind going? Can you bring it back to the present moment? And this is also Vipassana. It's Vipassana on the meditation cushion and Vipassana outside of the meditation cushion.
Also, I found when I judge myself too much, when I push myself too much, become too strict with myself, I feel too much suffering. And afterwards, I start to be very judgmental towards other people. I start to feel like, are they doing serious practice? Or also, I'm a little bit jealous of people who do not suffer just because I suffer too much. I really went into it. Like I made 1 year of service where I was pushing myself till the bottom. And then, for example, I remember one moment I just go to the city, I walk around the people and they seem so happy, And I'm like, why are they happy when I'm suffering? I really felt this jealousy. And that was for me, okay, Olga, that goes not healthy direction.
Yeah.
And I realized when I'm kind to myself, I'm kind to others. And when I treat myself good, I mostly then afterwards feel like, I let other people do their, to walk their path the way they want. So for me, more important how I meditate than the fact that I really do it, let's say,
very
2 hours.
strictly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And because you said you've been practicing Vipassana meditation for the past 11 years. or rather, how has Vipassana meditation influenced your life and who you are, and have people who know you well seen a difference?
I think it has influenced my life. I'm sure it has influenced in many ways. First, I feel myself lighter, that's for sure. Because some baggage that was weighting me down, I was able to dissolve. Some like anger or some situations that were with me for 20 years, I feel like, I let them go and I'm happy with it. Then I have realized, by observing myself, how much anger actually not productive and how much hatred is not productive. So whenever a situation comes and I feel hatred, I'm like, I don't need it. And I really take effort to meditate and to dissolve it. Like before, I would also know that, it's not good to swipe it under the carpet, but I didn't know how to work with all those negative emotions. And now I have this tool, and for me, it's like, helps me very much in everyday life. Because, unwanted things happen. Somebody looked at you not the way you liked, somebody told you something you don't like, and then I just sit in the evening and I'm observing it and it dissolves, and I just feel myself more in peace with myself because of this.
So I don't remember who said this, but someone said that darkness is the absence of light, and to me, pain and anger and jealousy can only exist if you don't acknowledge them. And I think this is what happens with Vipassana meditation. The anger is here. We are not superhumans.
Yes.
We still feel anger. We still feel jealousy and negative feelings.
Yes.
But before, I used to, as you said, swipe it under the carpet. And now I see it and I say, oh, hi, anger. How are you doing? Why are you here?
Exactly.
What do you need to tell me? Because all these sensations are here to tell us something, to teach us something.
Exactly.
And by simply acknowledging that they have a right to be here, it takes their power away.
Exactly. Allowing yourself to feel it, observing it, feeling why am I feeling it? And this is so beautiful. I love what I really love about Vipassana, the Vipassana community. I have many friends, but none of them really feels themselves superior because, I'm a good Vipassana meditator. They're mostly like really easygoing, self-ironic people. Because when you observe yourself, you discover so many, let's say, strengths, but weaknesses, yes. Yeah. And you're like, oh wow, that's how I am. And you just take yourself like with self-irony, and I'm loving this feeling. Also, I remember once after a session, like during the course, I'm so tired. I was working with my whatever traumas coming out, and I see all the other meditators, and all of them the same miserable, the same like this. I'm looking at them and I'm like, oh my goodness, we are all in the same boat, all suffering, all trying our best to overcome it, like hurting ourselves, hurting others, working with it, and I just felt so much compassion. And I think that's because of Vipassana, that's what I learned and felt it. Like we're all the same, we're all trying to do our best and sometimes not managing. And even if somebody hurted me, I know like he didn't mean it, he just was suffering himself, and that's why he was spreading it around. And then I'm like just observing why I'm actually hurt, what is this feeling? And sometimes it's just my ego, because I feel like person has to behave certain way and he doesn't behave certain way. So many beautiful discoveries.
Many beautiful discoveries for
about yourself, others, and the world, yes.
You have been together with your husband before you started meditating.
Yes.
How has your personal relationship with your husband evolved? Because you told us how your relationships with others in general have changed, but how has it particularly changed with your husband, who is also a Vipassana meditator?
Of course, I'm blessed to have a partner who is a Vipassana meditator, because we can speak the same language. And every quarrel with a Vipassana meditator can become something very fun, because of course you're quarreling, but at the same time you're like, hey, are you observing your anger? I'm observing. And are you observing? I'm observing. Like you a little bit throw, of course, wood in the fire, but you're doing it more consciously. And at the end, you can always talk about it. And what exactly, was hurtful for you? This and this. Okay. You can discuss things deeper. Mm-hmm. We are both less afraid of pain. If he says something and I feel like I'm, it hurts me, I'm more likely to look in words and see what it triggers in me, why it triggers in me something, than automatically just blaming him because, he said something I don't like. So for this, it's fun, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, we can meditate together. And this is something, beautiful to have hobby that both people have, and meditating together brings you closer. Because after a session, sometimes you just look at each other it was good. Yes, it was good. And it unites you more. So I'm happy.
Is there a particular anecdote from one of the 10 days courses or the serving that you did that you would love to share with us? I'm always very curious.
Well, this was a funny situation, as I said, about the silence. That's something I was so much afraid. And then on the day 10, you're like, oh my God, I don't want to talk. It's that was so funny one. And that was my anecdote.
That's a very good one.
But we discussed it before. So.
That's perfect. That's perfect. One thing that I realized when I came out of meditation, that the fact not to have to say bless you to someone who sneezed was almost a relief. I was with myself for 10 days and only concentrated on me. So if someone was sneezing, I knew someone was sneezing, but I didn't feel like I need to get out of my meditative state to say bless you.
Yes.
And that was, I don't know, it was a relief. It sounds ridiculous,
yes.
But it was something very small that made such a big difference for me.
Oh, that's a cool one. Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone is listening to this podcast and thinking, Vipassana meditation, maybe, what advice would you give them? Would you say absolutely go for it, or go for it with caution?
I would say absolutely go for it if you feel you want to work on yourself, if you feel desire to work. Because
yeah, I think that's the key.
Yes.
It's not a holiday.
Exactly.
It's a course, and a course where you work.
So I met Vipassana when I had some conscious need for it, and I had conscious request. I want to discover what it is to be here and now. I'm ready for this. And that's why it was so beneficial for me. I think if I would just walk around, do my hanky-panky, and then I would just find myself in a course. First, I would be like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of hard work. Why would I do this? Why would I do this effort? If you don't feel why you have to do this effort, you might not, benefit. But otherwise, it's a beautiful experience. I would be only happy for any person who can discover it and listen to your heart. And if you feel like, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
For me, Vipassana has changed my life completely. It has changed how I see the world and how I am towards myself as well. I'm a much better person towards myself than I was before I started meditation.
For me also, it gave me this depth that I was searching for. It makes ordinary things extraordinary. As I said, I can just drink tea, but because you're present, because you're aware, it's so magical and it's so enough, And also, I can stay in the line. For example, I have to wait for hours. I don't feel this time is wasted anymore. It's just okay, let's practice sensations. Let's be here and now. And
be present.
It's to be present.
And for anyone who is interested in Vipassana meditation, there are centers almost everywhere in the world. You can simply Google Vipassana and the name of the country where you are, and you will find centers. It might be a little bit difficult to apply the first time, simply because there are a lot of people who want to do Vipassana meditation. But keep going, apply 2, 3, 4 times if needs be. You will get in at some point.
Exactly.
Be patient. Olga, it has been incredible talking to you.
Thank you.
We end up every episode with a few burning questions. Are you ready?
Let's do them.
The first one is, what do you want most out of this life?
I would love to live this life in a way that before I die, I feel I've done what I had to do. And now I'm ready to come back home.
Oh,
just
this
feeling in your heart.
Yeah,
I really feel it.
So deep peace with the day you die.
Yes, you feel you've done what you needed to do.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to come back home. And it also involves practicing Vipassana because you get more connected and you feel how it is when your body dies that you still exist in a way. So
thank you so much for this beautiful answer.
Thank you for the question.
Complete these sentences. The world needs more
love and compassion
towards others and also towards ourselves.
You can have it towards others when you have it towards yourself.
Yeah. And I am grateful for?
I'm grateful for this life, for all the experiences, for the opportunity to love, for I have discovered Vipassana, for my wonderful friends, and for all the experiences.
Thank you, Olga. And if there was one thing I could cook for you, what would it be?
Vegan cheesecake.
Vegan cheesecake it is. Olga,
thank you, Laura.
I appreciate you being on the podcast. It has been wonderful talking to you, and I'm very thankful for you being so generous with your time. To our listeners, I hope you pass down this episode to someone in your life who needs it. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.